All right, Stuck, as you mentioned, good week for me in the six-pack. You caught some bad beats, but felt good to sweep after going over the prior week, and felt good to cover with Sam Darnold after weighing points with him on the road the week before. So we're on to the next, 26-23. I'm up, and you got first pick. Where you going?
Yeah, my first pick of the Sunday six-pack for week 9 is the San Francisco 49ers -1 at BetMGM. I love this pick. I've been waiting for this bet ever since, I talked about my October. I had a bunch of dogs that were the better team that didn't cover as big numbers. This was one of them. And I watched that entire San Francisco Arizona game. Arizona ended up winning by 7 thanks to, they were outgained 5.7 to 5.1 yards per play. They were outgained overall. 49ers went 1 of 5 on fourth down and were stopped at 4th and goal at the 1 by about an inch, and they just couldn't overturn it. They kept Murray in check. They ended up losing by 7 with a ton of injuries in a game where Trey Lance had to make his first career start, and they should have won. They were the better team. I could not wait to get this San Francisco team on the comeback when these two teams met again, which is this weekend. Now, before the year, I had the San Francisco significantly better than Arizona. I've obviously bumped Arizona up, bumped San Francisco down some, but still made this game around a coin flip before all of the news that has come out recently. Now I make San Francisco close to a field goal favorite, would lay up to a field goal in this game. Just because of some of the matchups, the situation, all the uncertainty around Kyler Murray's injury. I actually think there's a chance he doesn't play. They're 7-1. Why risk longer term injury here? Try and nip it in the bud. The same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. He always plays. What is that AJ Green quote? He's like, Cop always plays. Doesn't matter. Doesn't practice. But it's still a hamstring, right? It's these things you could see it. Maybe it could just pop up at any time, as it did in that game against the Packers. So that can still linger. AJ Green also just went on the COVID list 5 minutes ago. So this offense is decimated. And Kyler Murray, even if he does play, if he doesn't play, it's a huge drop off, obviously, to Colt McCoy. But even if he does play, he has a serious ankle injury. He's in a boot. Kyler Murray not being able to be mobile is a completely different Kyler Murray. And this is a completely different offense. His mobility is one of the things that makes this offense go. The 49ers already, in the past, you look at their past matchups, know how to kind of keep him in check. Now you're getting D Ford back. You're getting a couple pieces back. Your corners are as healthy as they've been in a while. Got some injuries at safety, but the 49ers know how to contain this Arizona offense, and now you're dealing with all of these injuries. On the other side of the ball, San Francisco's offensive line now fully healthy. George Kittle should be back. George Kittle being back doesn't just help in the pass-catching game. It helps in the running game, too. It's one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the NFL. You have a bunch of backs now that are healthy. You can attack this Arizona run defense, which is 22nd in success rate. They're giving up 4.9 yards per rush. That's second worst in the NFL. And now you don't have J.J. Watt, who was one of their best run defenders on the defensive line. Cardinals, huge third down regression coming. A lot of third down regression coming on the defensive side of the ball. A negative 0.589 EPA per play on late downs. 30% success rate on fourth downs. We talked about that Chargers fourth down regression coming on the offensive end. The Cardinals, we saw it with this 49ers team, went 1 of 5 on fourth and shorts in that game. That's coming here. I think that this is the time that we're about to start to see the 49ers that we were expecting at the beginning of the year. They went on the road and they got that win against the Bears. They're starting to get healthier. I think they're going to come back. They're going to beat the Cardinals here. They're going to beat the Rams next week, making that call now. And you're going to have this really competitive division that we expected. So this is a great spot to get the 49ers before all the injuries. Now you throw in all the injuries on Arizona's side. I love it even more. Give me the 49ers, anything up to a field goal.
Yeah, they're -1 at BetMGM. And this line opened, I think it was +2.5 or +3. So hopefully you get some good luck this week after you got all the closing line value last week and the Vikings just choked that game away. That was horrible. But I agree. I think the 49ers, this is always a spot, right, that you want to back the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan as an underdog. As a favorite, he covers like 40% of the time. As an underdog, he covers like 60% of the time. You know, it's one of those things. It's kind of like the Daniel Jones home road splits almost. You know, it's just Kyle Shanahan in these spots. This is when he can do what he can do. I know now they're a slight favorite, but
yeah, well, they're actually at Bet. We'll make the play at BetMGM. I believe are they minus 110 on the money line?
Yeah, they're minus 110. They're -1, -110 on the money. Both teams are minus 110. So it's like a pick on the money line.
Yeah, we'll go with the money line here since that's minus 110. And yeah, I agree. Shanahan, you don't want to back him as like a favorite. And what would we say favorite, like over a field goal? He's been hard in that spot. But I think that this is just the perfect spot to get the 49ers. It's a great matchup for them. We saw it when they were less healthy and the Cardinals were healthier on the road. And again, they were the better team. Now, you know, the roles are reversed. You're at home here. In a game that's 4-year season, the Cardinals are sitting pretty. That might influence some injury. That might influence them to sit Kyler Murray. Then all of a sudden you're going to see this line rise to, San Francisco -6. So
what would you take it to? Because I know people are going to ask this. If Kyler is ruled out, what would you still take it to a field goal, or would you take it past that?
I would take it up to a field goal. I would take it up to 2.5 even if Kyler's playing. I'm -2.5. I'm assuming that he's not going to be 100%. That's why. So that assumption's not going to change. So I'm assuming that Murray's going to be limited if he does go. I mean, he's in a boot. He hasn't been really practicing. If Kyler Murray doesn't play, I think it gets ugly. I would play the 49ers up to -5.5.
Gotcha.
If Murray doesn't play, and even if Murray does play, I think this might be a blowout. If Murray's limited or if it's Colt McCoy, this is just a beautiful spot for the 49ers and all of the health issues for the Cardinals. It's really just going to limit their offense and some regression coming on defense. And it's just not a great matchup for their defense.
And with AJ Green going on the COVID list, I mean, we've seen this before. He's in the receiver room with DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk. The keys to their offense, whether Kyler Murray is healthy or on the bench, they become even more important. So if any of those guys is a close contact, I mean, as you mentioned, this is happening as we're recording. So I don't know, I don't think we have enough details to speculate, but that's just something to point out that if you take this line here at -1, I think there's a really good chance that you're getting closing line value on this.
Well, this line could close. This line could close. Realistically, this line could close San Francisco -10 ish. If you get let's just talk about the worst case scenario. The receiver room gets COVID. So you have Hopkins, Green's already on the list, Moore are out. So then Arizona says, all right, our receivers are out, our quarterback's kind of banged up. We're sitting Murray. Why risk him here? So now you have Colt McCoy in a poverty wide receiver group. I mean, this line is going to go pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't get to 10, but it would get to a touchdown.
Let's see who the Cardinals have on their practice squad. Because, it could, even their fifth
wide receiver. Greg Dortch is going to be here after I beat the line by a touchdown. I think he's on the practice squad.
Let's see. We got, we have Greg Dortch. We have Andre Basilia. Those look like the 2 wide receivers on the practice squad, and they probably use some Chase Edmonds in the slot or something like that. They might have to call up Larry Fitzgerald
with Colt McCoy throwing on the ball.
All right, yeah, no, I like this one. It's a good, and like I said, I think you more likely than not get some good closing line value here. For my first pick in the Week 9 Sunday 6-pack. And the second overall pick, I am going with the Atlanta Falcons +6 at the New Orleans Saints. It is time to get ugly. We're going to start early with an ugly Falcons team that could not move the ball on the Panthers last week. Love this spot for the Falcons. First of all, we don't even know who the Saints quarterback is going to be. We're giving up 6 points at home. Second of all, this is a major letdown spot for the Saints. And remember, I picked them on the money. They were my money line dog pick last week to upset the world champion Tampa Bay Bucks. They did it. Now I'm picking against them here at home against the Falcons. You look at Sean Payton since 2014 as a home favorite, 22-32-1 against the spread, just 41%. And struggles even more coming off some of these wins. Actually, they beat Tampa Bay early in the year last year. They come out the next week and lose to Vegas. That first matchup, 34-24 the next week is a favorite. So this New Orleans team, You look how they played against Seattle. Geno Smith is at quarterback. I think they closed like -5, -5.5, something like that. And they win by 3. And it was a tough game. You know, the other spot where they were a favorite against, what was it, Carolina? Yeah, they were favored against Carolina, and they get blown out. Like, they're 0-2 as a favorite by more than a field goal this year.
And that was the week after they blew out the Packers.
Right, yeah. So classic letdown spot for the Saints. And I'll give them credit. They did have a game where they blew out the Bucks the second time last year, and then they came back and won, I think it was 27-13 against the Niners. But I think we were both on the Niners in that game, and the Niners had that game, had the cover at least, and I think they turned it over in the red zone like 2 or 3 times.
And then muff punts. They had 2 muff punts. They lost.
So if you're just looking at these spots for the Saints, you know, even at Niners game, I know look on the scoreboard, it's 14-point game, but just another game where I kind of chalk it up and say, okay, the Niners were the right side to have in this one. More often than not, you're going to win betting against the Saints in these spots. This is just the Falcons. Listen, this is not a bet on the Falcons. But I think the market is overreacting to Calvin Ridley being out, to them struggling against the Panthers, which it was kind of predictable coming off this just cake slate of games against they're playing the Dolphins and the Jaguars, or the Jets, the Giants. It was just a cake slate of matchups. They had a reality check. Now they're going to come back. I think it's going to be a close matchup. Because you look at the Saints, they beat the Seahawks with Geno Smith by 3. Are the Falcons, you got Matt Ryan, Cordell Patterson, and Kyle Pitts. Like, is that really like Matt Ryan's better than Geno Smith? Metcalf and Lockett are better than Patterson and Pitts. But like, the point is, this is just going to be a ugly, probably low scoring game where the points are more important. Its total has dropped to like 41.5. It may go to 41 by the time you're listening to this. So, every point is more valuable. Betting against Sean Payton is a home favorite, who's covering just 41% of the time with the Atlanta Falcons +6.
Yeah. By the way, this was going to be one of my picks, and the way that we do this, we just on Slack, we do this via snake draft. And so each week one of us is first, and the next week the other person's first. I'll take a pick, then Chris will take a pick, blah, blah, blah. And so this week I had the Chiefs, but then Rodgers was announced out, and then he had the Falcons. I would have taken the Falcons, but I'm a nice guy, so let him have the Falcons. So I agree.
Hey, I was up early. You saw that, right? I pinged you at I don't know what time it was Eastern, but I know it was like the middle of the night for me. So I got that in there. So I appreciate you letting me stick with them.
Yeah, but this is so I completely agree. Yeah, just to throw some more trends out there. Peyton 38-47 against the spread as a favorite of 6 or more points. It's 44%. 42-25-2, 63% as a dog. Like, he's a god as an underdog. But this is when you want to fade him. It's a high hurdle to climb with a total so low and a team that's just very conservative. The Saints team that's just, I want to back them as dogs, don't want to back them as favorites. They rely on their defense, very conservative offense. I've seen a little, there are some positive things about this Falcons offense over the past few weeks. Last week notwithstanding, there was just way too much pressure. The Saints aren't getting elite pressure. But yeah, ultimately it's just an awful spot. I think with the quarterback uncertainty, this line should be like closer to 4. So I played this as well at +6. By the way, Calvin Ridley, he stepped away from the game. OBJ is going to get caught. Von Miller to the Rams. Jameis Winston out for the year. Rodgers, COVID. Michael Thomas out for the year.
Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs. Kyler Murray. Derrick Henry out. This Tyrod Taylor starting. Mike White. This is the craziest week of NFL news I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, I agree here. It's Falcons all the way. There's some value in this number, as I expected to see after that win over the Bucks last week. If I had to guess, my guess in this game is the Saints win by 3. All right. Like 20-17. It's probably the most likely outcome of this game.
All right, it's going to be Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill against the Falcons. So yeah, it's going to be a high score.
For my second pick of the third overall of the Week 9 Sunday 6-pack, I am going with the Carolina Panthers +3.5 at BetMGM at home against the New England Patriots. All right, so when you look at this game, we've backed the Panthers a couple times this year, and I think we've nailed the Panthers every game.
Except that one I
And-
bet on Darnold that on the road. I remember.
Oh
2
yes,
weeks ago.
That,
Yeah.
yes,
I'm still
yes,
in
that
rehab
was the
for
one
that.
mistake.
I'm
You're
still in rehab
yeah.
with that. Yeah,
You do
yeah.
not.
But I got
bet.
my Cam Newton jersey on to kind of atone for it. But
You had and you atoned for it last week, and you nailed them the week prior. But we play the Panthers as underdogs, not as favorites. And I think that this line is inflated after what we saw the Patriots do last week against the Chargers in a pretty impressive win. They had some turnover luck, but it's a Chargers defense that's just not really impressive to me. And the Patriots on the West Coast now coming from across the country for another road game. All of a sudden, they're laying 3.5, 4. I think you can find a 4 out there, which I took. Why? So the question is why? I mean, this look-ahead line was like a pick one. Well, you have the Patriots with a really good performance last week. The Panthers also won, by the way. But then there's questions about, so you get a bump in the market with the Patriots. Then there's questions about Sam Darnold's availability. Who cares? I mean, this is the same thing about last week when you told me that Zach Wilson is out and this line moves 6 points because Mike White, reigning AFC player of the week for Mike White, was going to be the starting quarterback. Who cares? Sam Darnold has been objectively one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this year.
Not against the Texans, yeah.
Just you take away, that's his Texans game. He's been dreadful. And do you want to back? And I'm assuming he's not going to play here. I'm not even dropping the Panthers much, going from Darnold to PJ Walker. And I hope PJ Walker plays. I'll tell you why. His legs can be an asset here. And especially against a group of, mobile quarterbacks have given Bill Belichick defenses some issues in the past. They have a really slow, unathletic group of linebackers. So I think PJ Walker can have some success using his legs. 2, this line has gone up because Darnold's not going to be available. Who wants to bet on Sam Darnold against a Bill Belichick defense? Seeing ghosts. I mean, we've seen how that plays out before. That does not end well. You might as well have me back there trying to throw the ball. So I'm reading the tea leaves here. I don't think Darnold's playing. Fine with that. Fine with the line going to 4 as a result. I still make it around just under 2. I don't think that there's not much of a drop-off. And the argument could be made, and I'm making it, that I'd rather have PJ Walker in there for this particular game. I mean, I do not need Sam. I don't know how many picks Sam Darnold will throw this time. So, Christian McCaffrey could be back as well. But there's, I like this Panthers defense now for this particular matchup. Their front seven's always been formidable. Against the run, they're 6th in EPA rush, 6th in rushing success rate, 9th in line yards. They're number 1 in adjusted sack rate. Mac Jones has 3 big-time throws and 6 turnover-worthy ones under pressure. Only 5.5 yards per attempt under pressure. That's 24th. 4th in turnover-worthy throw percentage under pressure. When he's kept clean, he's been sparkling. The Panthers are getting a ton of pressure right now. Burns and Reddick have been amazing. Last week against the Falcons, they had 6 guys with a 20+% pressure rate. So this is a team that's getting a ton of pressure, and Jones is still a rookie. Watched him last week. Whenever the Chargers were able to get pressure, overthrowing balls, he made some turnover-worthy throws. I think that's going to catch up to him here with a defense. There's a pass defense that's now much more formidable with Stephon Gilmore in there, who I like him in this scheme. He really solves that big hole that the Panthers had of who's their second corner, which was a major question. Shaq Thompson back at linebacker. So again, this is a very low total. What's this down to 41?
41 and a half at BetMGM.
Yeah, and you're giving me 4 points with the home team because I think that this is a move in the market based on an assumed perceived quarterback downgrade. And I don't necessarily think that's the case in this particular matchup. So give me the Carolina Panthers, and McCaffrey plays will be huge just for some dub downs and screens and things of that nature. But the Patriots can be run on a little bit. So not only PJ Walker, but if it has to be the what did Boomer say? The Chuba missile crisis, Hubbard running the ball. I think that they can have some success moving the ball. But I think it's just an ugly game, sort of like the Saints Falcons. Probably comes down to a field goal. I'll take the home dog here that I show value in.
Yeah, and if I didn't love this total so much, because I think I've talked about this, I try not to bet 2 different things in the same game anymore, just because I I just don't enjoy it. It's just like more of a personal preference. I love the total as well. We'll get to that. Spoiler alert, I like an ugly under, but I totally agree. I mean, I was even saying coming into last week and why I picked the Panthers. No one understood why I was picking the Panthers. They were on the worst streak of their life. The Falcons were humming on offense. And I'm looking at their cornerback groups, and you have Dante Jackson, you have Bouye in the slot, you had Keith Taylor. All of those guys are top 50 in Pro Football Focus's grades. Stephon Gilmore then gets acquired and he gets activated. If you ignore the snap minimums, because obviously Gilmore only played one game, he's the highest rated cornerback in the NFL. They have 4 cornerbacks that are legit like top 25 percentile cornerbacks, or at least playing like it, because the rookie Keith Taylor is playing really well. And Bouye has kind of had somewhat of a renaissance here as well. You add Shaq Thompson to that, you're top 5 in pressure rate. So yeah, I think it's take your pick. If you like the Panthers, you like the under, maybe you just want to play both, but I don't see the Patriots doing much of anything in this matchup. And I loved them last week. And a lot of people agree with me, going against that Charger team coming off the bye. I said, hey, this Patriots team is going to play well. They controlled that game. They're going to struggle here, and people are going to probably scratch their heads. It should be a low scoring game. And yeah, I mean, PJ Walker, you talk about betting feelings though. So I had the Steelers last week and I had the Panthers. First, I'm sitting there just watching Red Zone, feeling pretty good about my day. Nothing was going off the rails. But then I see Mike Tomlin fake a field goal and get his kicker just nailed, and he's out of the game. Then the Panthers are like in complete control of the game. They're driving down the field. They run Sam Darnold, or he runs. I forget if there was a called run or not, but he gets lit up to the point where his head snaps back. The ball comes out of his hands. He almost fumbles in like deep in the red zone. On the very next play, they call a designed run for Sam Darnold on the very next play, and he gets lit up again. And that's why he's concussed right now. That's literally why he's in concussion protocol. Then PJ Walker comes in and almost throws a pick six on the first play. So you talk about feelings of betting. I just happened to get some lucky breaks, but I was not happy. With two, what are these coaches doing? I really don't know what these coaches are doing here.
Yeah, well, I will tell you that you bring up a great point. I was looking at the Panthers. Their pass defensive numbers are elite, but you saw this with Washington last year as well. There's a correlation between a team that is able to generate elite pressure and they're dominating and your secondary's numbers, and you don't have to cover as much. You can be a little more aggressive. And so those two things go hand in hand, and the Panthers are just generating so much pressure right now that I think it's going to be, and they give you a lot of different looks on the back end, different zone looks. So I think Mac Jones makes a couple key mistakes here, and this game's a grinder. I think 4 is too many.
Yeah, the only Panthers corner that struggled has been CJ Henderson, and he came from the Jaguars. So, that's, I guess, to be expected at this point. Yep. Okay. For my second pick in the 4th overall of the Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers, a -1.5 at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a pretty public play. So, it's rare that I'm on the same side as a public, more of a contrarian, a better. But I think you have to buy low on the Chargers, sell high on the Eagles right here. Because remember, last week I said it. Everyone's too high on the Chargers. They're coming off a bye. They're going to struggle against this Belichick defense. The week before you nailed them, or the game before you nailed them, bad matchup against Baltimore. Okay, so the Chargers have gone against a Wink Martindale defense and a Bill Belichick defense. Justin Herbert in his second year. Both of those defenses, can confuse the opponent quarterbacks, and they also can play man-to-man coverage. They play man at the highest rate in the league. This Eagles defense, and I know Jonathan Gannon is your boy, but I'm really not liking what I'm seeing out of this Eagles defense. I just think it's too easy to prepare for. They run zone at the third. Okay. Yeah. So they run zone at the 3rd highest rate in the league. They're playing a lot of quarters coverage. They want to make the offense drive up and down the field, which in theory, a lot of smart defensive coordinators are doing. But with Philly, it's just, you're not really giving the opponent anything too difficult to have to game plan for. You're just kind of sitting back there. And yeah, if you go to Darius Slay's side, you're probably not going to get too much, but that's really it. There's nothing. And Maddox, sometimes he'll come off the edge, and blitz, from the secondary. But it's really not a great defense. It's below average in DVOA. Then you look at the red zone. They're 29th. You look at third down, they're 26th. So if you're going to have a bend but don't break defense, and then you break, then what are you really? So this is a matchup where the Chargers defense, I agree, it's not quite as impressive. Similar scheme. They're mixing things up a little more, but the Eagles offense, they're probably scored 21, 24 points. So when I'm betting the Chargers, I'm just looking for spots where the Chargers can score. This is a completely different matchup, completely opposite of the last two games where it was just confusing, man coverage, a lot of different looks, easy zone defense. Justin Herbert averages nearly a yard per attempt more against zone coverage. So I think the Chargers can score in this game. I'm getting 1.5. Even though the Chargers, whether they're on the road or at home, it doesn't really make a difference. They have no home field advantage. And then you look at Philadelphia, and you want to talk about beating up on bad teams. Philadelphia outscored Atlanta and Detroit 76-12. In the other 6 games, they've been outscored 179 to 127. That's 8.7 points per game. That's more than a touchdown. And I know they had some, they kept it close with the Bucks. And they probably should have had more against the Niners as well. That was a tough break, but still, this is far from an impressive team. I mean, we're sitting here talking about Jalen Hurts potentially getting benched. I don't think he is, but some people seem to think that. And a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, before that Baltimore game, everyone was talking about the Chargers as like an AFC championship contender, as a team that may go to the Super Bowl and upset the Chiefs because they already upset the Chiefs. And now all of a sudden they can't even get a field goal on the road against this below average Philly team that Herbert knows the scheme that they're just going to go up and down the field and score when they get in the red zone and convert when they're on third down. I love the Chargers here. It is a public play, but I'm taking this at anything under a field goal.
You make a good case. I'm just getting weird vibes from this game and this line. I'm not playing the Eagles here, but I actually do like the over some. I think the Chargers are going to have success moving the ball. They'll be able to throw it underneath and they'll be able to march up and down the field. There's a lot of familiarity on both ends here. On the other side, so I agree with you. I think the Chargers will have no issues moving the ball. And on the other side, a lot of familiarity with the Eagles as well. If they want to run it, I hope, if you're the Eagles fan, this is a game where you want to establish more of a run because the Chargers can't defend the run. I don't know if they will, but if you want to run it, you can run it all day on the Chargers. Very weak front seven. This defense is, I said it before, is not a great fit for what Staley wants to do, the personnel wise. Like Bosa's out there saying like, we didn't move me outside to get more pressure on Mac Jones last week. There's just a lot. This doesn't really fit. And now that I don't know who's playing corner for them this weekend. That would be my biggest concern if Philly comes out and throws it. Samuel didn't practice today. I think he's in concussion protocol. Davis didn't practice today. He might not play. So you're down to bare bones on the outside of corner potentially. So I think that both teams could have some success. Both offenses should have success moving the ball. I don't hate the play. If you put a gun to my head, I would play the Chargers, but I worry about obviously their special teams as always. And just who's going to play corner for them. So I think up to 50, I like this over. I might play that small.
Oh, yeah. And I just wanted to talk about, that's a good point about the run defense, because that's actually another reason why I like the Chargers in this spot. The Eagles, yeah, they beat the Lions 44-6. The Lions never were close. So they ran more than they run all season. Even with that game, they're still averaging a league low 16.6 handoffs per game to running back. So it's tough for the Eagles to commit to running the football. They don't have their best running back. So like, yeah, you could run against the Lions. You could probably run against the Chargers. But I mean, you look at like a game, like if the Chargers want to, because their philosophy is give up the run. But if they think that like the Eagles are more dangerous on the ground, I think it's more about Hurts than like, I don't think Jordan Howard, Kenneth Gainwell, or Boston Scott scares you at all. But like we saw that against the Raiders earlier in the year. Like if they want to kind of come up and shut down the run, they can. So I'm not worried about that. And their special teams, it is bad. That's why one of the reasons, going against a Belichick coach team, their special teams is going to be top notch. But they did do a couple of things. You mentioned one of them last week. They added Hopkins. He had a good game in his first game. He's obviously an upgrade on Vizcaíno. Almost anybody is. And they also added Andre Roberts in the return game. So KJ Hill wasn't giving him much. So they could get a little better. Like, I don't know if they'll be 32 because they are 32 in DVOA on special teams. I think that'll rise up a little bit, especially with the better kicker, but also Roberts, could give him a little more in the return game. So I like this. I just like the matchup. I think if the Eagles win like 20-13 or something like that, we're not getting this. But because they went 44-6 against these hapless Lions, I think you're getting a perfect buy low opportunity here on the Chargers, a perfect sell high on the Eagles.
Yeah. Another reason why I like the over, by the way, both these teams want to play fast. I think they're both top 5 in neutral situation pace. But yeah, maybe the Chargers can get to 31 in special teams DVOA. All right. For my third pick and the 5th overall, the Sunday 6-pack, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns +3, minus 120 at BetMGM. This is, look, I have the Browns in a teaser as well. I'm going to play some +3 minus 120, which you can find at BetMGM right now. This is a game that I look at, coming into the year. I had the Browns rated higher than the Bengals. After what we've seen so far this season, I still have the Browns a couple points better than the Bengals. Okay, there's a couple more injury issues for the Browns, but they're getting a little healthier in key areas. Okay, I still have the Browns ahead of the Bengals. Where is this game? It's in Cincy. What's the home field in this situation? A divisional game in the same state, a lot of nothing. So I basically make this game right around a coin flip. So I'll gladly take pay to get the field goal here. Gladly tease them up over 3, 4, 6, and 7 in a game that I think is basically just going to come down to 1 or 2 plays. I think the Bengals are. I don't know what has happened with the Bengals. They blew out the Ravens, and everyone thinks that they're the greatest team in the world now. But, they just lost to the Jets. They should have lost at home to the Jaguars. They lost to the Bears and Justin Fields. They lost to the same Steelers team that the Browns just lost to. I think that people are starting to sour on the Browns. Last week they lost to the Steelers, same Steelers team that beat the Bengals. But it's just the Steelers are a bad matchup for the Browns. They can get they can generate elite pressure and just cripple Baker Mayfield. The Bengals can't really do that. They're not getting pressure at an elite rate. So, I think Baker Mayfield will be able to operate this offense. The Browns offensive line, Conklin is a big loss, but the rest of the offensive line should be healthy. They can control this Bengals defensive front, which has been a lot better. They went out and spent a lot of money there. So I think that the Browns will have success moving the ball. The Bengals, look, they've just been, it's hit or miss with these huge plays. And Jamar Chase has been amazing. He has 700 yards in single coverage. That's double the next best person. Joe Woods is very good at taking away your number one option. I expect that to happen here. Denzel Ward should be back. That's big for their secondary. And you have to be able to get pressure on Burrow without blitzing. That's how you slow him down. The Browns could do that. I mean, you look at Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, and Takk McKinley. They're 3 of the top 4 in the NFL in pass rush win rate. I believe Clowney's going to play. Garrett is in. And I think that they can get pressure on Burrow, throw him off his game a little bit. And there's some third down regression coming for this Browns defense. You look at early downs, they're playing really well. They're 30th in EPA per play on third downs. So I think that should start to stabilize and come back down to where their overall numbers are. And I think the Bengals defense has been overperforming in general. So, I don't think there's I'm not coming out here and saying, oh my God, the Browns are a lock to win this game. I am nowhere near as confident as I am with the 49ers, but I truly make this game a coin flip. I think it's a coin flip. There's basically no home field advantage here. And I think this is like a very close divisional game that comes down to 1 or 2 plays. And what put me over the edge there is I'll take the much better coaching staff and the much more aggressive coach in that scenario. So I'll side with Stefanski and company here. Give me the Browns.
And also, this might be, I know he's banged up, but this might be a more comfortable Baker Mayfield, not just because of the, downgrade in pressure when you go from Pittsburgh to, and Arizona for that matter, to a team like the Bengals, but also because Odell Beckham's not going to be in that huddle,
Yep.
So I remember last year he played Baker Mayfield had the best stretch of his life outside of that rookie year stretch. And both of those stretches, the rookie year stretch and last year, pretty much came without Odell Beckham. So, this is.
Yeah, it could work. I think they're going to rally around this, that the offense is going to rally around all this drama this week. And another reason I think the Browns are undervalued in the market is they've dealt with a ton of injuries all year. So you have to take their numbers and their results with a grain of salt, whereas the Bengals have been fairly healthy. So I don't see how you can get to basically saying that the Bengals are field goal better than the Browns, which is what this is assuming, which is what this is saying. If you assume that home field is basically nothing in a game like this, which I believe it is. So give me the Browns.
Yeah, I'll probably join you on this. I mean, you look at the Browns, they're 6th in overall DVOA. The Bengals are 21st. Because remember, DVOA is schedule adjusted. You know, the Browns have played the Chiefs. You know, the Bengals lost to the Jets. And I'm surprised you didn't mention this, Browns also 4th special teams DVOA. The Bengals they're 10th. But, you know, number 4, you know, Cleveland has the advantage here on special teams. I think Cleveland's roster is still a better roster here. And you're 15 spots higher in overall DVOA, and you're laying 3. So yeah, I'll probably be joining you on this one. I agree. I like that, you know, +3, 120 there. Maybe it even gets down to 115 if, you know, people think the Bengals are going to bounce back. Probably not, but either way, yeah, I like the Browns a lot in this spot. This is just a coin flip game. I think I have it Bengals by 1, and even that seems a little high. All right, for my last pick and the last pick of the Week 9 Sunday 6-pack, I am going with the Denver Broncos +10 at BetMGM at the Dallas Cowboys. And man, I know this is the right play. I'm still doing it as my 1-point play because I'm always going to be nervous. I think Dak will be back here. Always going to be nervous going against the Cowboys. But this number is way higher than I have it projected. I have it around, I think, 8 for this game. So the market's at 10. I think in our Action Network Pro projections, collectively we have it at +7. So I might even be a little higher on the Cowboys than most, and I'm still going against them here. I think, you know, Football Outsiders model has it around 7. 538's model has it at 7. I know the Broncos lost Von Miller, but listen, the Broncos have committed multiple turnovers in only 1 game on offense. So this is not as much a bet on the Broncos defense, which has actually played well, you know, against some shaky opponents, but they are top 5 in, drive success rate on defense. But this is more of a bet on the Broncos just being able to stay close and or get a back door with the offense. You have Jerry Jeudy back. So you have Jeudy, Sutton, Tim Patrick. It's 3 pretty good receivers. You know, Noah Fant at tight end. You know, he's on the COVID list, but his backup, Okuwebunam, is also pretty good. So even if he ends up sitting out, Okuwebunam can step in there. He's a talented tight end. You have the 2 running backs, Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. We know, you know, these are these spots where you can keep it, you know, manage the game and keep it close. They've turned the ball over multiple times, only once all year in 8 games. And their offense is above average in DVOA. And that's, you know, dealing with some injuries. And then you just look at Teddy Bridgewater, and like, I think he's actually playing well. He's been one of the best quarterbacks under pressure. He's had some, you know, the offensive line has struggled at times, and that game against the Ravens where he just got walloped, kind of brings down a lot of the Broncos numbers. But overall in his career, Teddy's 23-5 against the spread, 82% on the road. When he's a dog of +7 or more, 7-1 against the spread. When it goes to +8 or more, 4-0. So Teddy Bridgewater, this is the spot you want to back him. It's not sexy, but I think the Broncos can keep it close. And even if they're down, you know, maybe 14, 17, maybe the worst comes to worst, you end up with a push at the 10. Because I think they can backdoor with, you know, Sutton, Jeudy, Patrick playing well. Is, you know, we write him off every year, and he seems to somehow almost always look like their best receiver, even though they got all these talented guys around him, and he was kind of the guy that wasn't drafted with any pedigree or anything like that. But yeah, this is just a bet on them. And, you know, who knows? Dak, you know, looks like he's going to be back, but you never know. He could not be 100%. They could decide that because they got the game against the Vikings, maybe they don't want to risk it here against the Broncos. Broncos will play some man coverage, and they won't get much pressure, but it's not like you were going to slow down the Cowboys offense too much anyway. So I just think this offense for the Broncos, as crazy as it sounds, has enough to kind of hang hang within a score or a 10-point game.
Yeah, I agree here. I think this line is too high, mainly because of the Cowboys are 7-0 against the spread. The Broncos have had a cluster injuries at the linebacker position, and now you lose Von Miller and Bryce Callahan. Their slot is on IR, and he's been one of their better corners this year.
That was tough to see him go down at the end of that game. He shouldn't have even had to be defending in that spot.
Yeah, brutal. And so the defense is obviously going to take a step back here. It hasn't been playing that great, so you worry about them against the Cowboys offense.
Right.
But I agree. I mean, look, Cooper's banged up, Lamb is banged up. Who knows if they're going to go? You have Dak, who I think the Cowboys would be smart to sit him out here, but the Cowboys organization is not known for making smart decisions. They did last week, but Jerry Jones is out on the radio saying he's going to play, worried about beating the Broncos in week 9 versus the bigger picture, which is why the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl in 3 decades. But they could sit him out here. And they were saying all the right things last week, saying like, we have something bigger to worry about, which is the right approach. So, but even if Dak plays, this offense should score. But the line's too high. I think it should be, around a touchdown, not 10. So I took plus 10 as well. Teddy covers. This is what he does. He covers in this scenario. The Dallas defense has some regression coming. I think the Broncos can keep up here and cover this number. I kind of like the over as well. The only reason I didn't play the over and chose to go with the Broncos is with all the question marks about. Tyrone Smith is banged up as well. Like who are the Cowboys?
And Diggs on defense banged up. Diggs is banged up. So
yep. But I agree with you. I think it's Broncos or nothing lines way too high.
All right, so that is our Week 9 Sunday 6-pack presented by our friends at the Athletic Brewing Company. To recap, Stuckey is going with the San Francisco 49ers -1 hosting the Cardinals, the Cleveland Browns +3 at the Cincinnati Bengals, and I use the term "at" very lightly, and the Carolina Panthers +3.5 hosting the New England Patriots. I am going with the Atlanta Falcons +6 at the Saints, the Chargers -1.5 at Philly, and the Broncos +10 in Dallas.